The world's gaze shifted sharply when the youngest member of BTS, Jungkook, was seen departing for the United States under what can only be described as extraordinary levels of security. What should have been a simple flight instantly turned into a global storm of panic and speculation. Armed escorts, tinted vehicles, layers of staff moving with alarming urgency. This was not the Jungkook departure fans had grown accustomed to. Something was different. Something was wrong. And if the unusual security was not enough to unsettle millions of fans across the world, the sight of Taehyung's visible distress shattered every last sense of calm. Why did Jungkook's closest friend look so shaken, so uncharacteristically unsettled, at the very moment his bandmate boarded that plane? What could he possibly know that the rest of us don't? The questions began pouring in almost instantly. Why would the company arrange such intense protective measures for a singer known for his composed, approachable presence when traveling? Why now? And why America? A country already reeling from an escalating wave of violence, mass shootings, and an atmosphere of unease that has gripped entire cities. Could this explain the unprecedented security? Or was there something hidden beneath the surface, something far more dangerous, that forced such drastic measures? The timing could not be worse. The United States is at a breaking point, with headlines filled daily with stories of tragedy and unrest. Public gatherings feel increasingly vulnerable, and every step into crowded spaces carries the shadow of fear. To send one of the world's most recognizable artists into such a volatile environment feels less like a calculated business move and more like a gamble with destiny. And yet there he was, shielded behind walls of protection. Fans who rushed to the airport to see him off found themselves stunned into silence. Multiple barriers of security cordoned off the terminal. The usual warmth of Jungkook's waves and smiles was nowhere to be seen. Instead, he remained hidden, guarded, and almost unreachable, his expression obscured by the protective formation surrounding him. This was not the Jungkook fans knew. The performer who always embraced their cheers, who made airports feel like reunions, suddenly seemed isolated from the very people who loved him most. Why was he being kept away? What was he being protected from? The silence that followed only made things worse. No official agenda was announced. No statements explained his sudden departure. Instead, the absence of answers created a breeding ground for rumors. Some whispered that the trip was tied to top-secret collaborations that required absolute confidentiality. Others argued that the extraordinary protection was a direct response to the rising dangers within America. Still, none of these explanations seemed enough to account for Taehyung's expression, his agitation, his unease, his inability to hide the fear written all over his face. For a man known for his calm charisma, the contrast was striking. Fans noticed immediately. His restlessness, his unsteady expression, his gaze that lingered with worry as Jungkook disappeared behind security lines. Was this just the reaction of a protective friend watching someone he loves walk into danger? Or had he been told something specific, something grave, that the rest of the world could not yet know? Theories multiplied. Could Taehyung have been warned of a direct threat? Was there intelligence quietly passed to the group that Jungkook was walking into a storm far greater than America's general atmosphere of unrest? Or was his panic born purely from instinct, the deep, unspoken bond between two people who have shared everything? Even outside the fandom, experts began weighing in. Security analysts admitted that the risks for international celebrities traveling to the U.S. are higher than ever. In a country scarred by repeated acts of violence, Jungkook's fame makes him a target not only for adoration, but for those seeking to exploit vulnerability. The scale of the protection surrounding him was not random. It was deliberate, it was planned, and it was far beyond ordinary. But then the question becomes, was this merely a proportional response to general risks, or was it a reaction to something very specific? Something the public hasn't been told? The lack of explanations left fans in agony. Every detail of the departure was dissected online, the sight of security moving with urgency, the absence of Jungkook's smile, the silence from official channels. And most hauntingly, the look on Taehyung's face. Social media exploded, filled with armies expressing their fear, their anger, and their frustration. Why must Jungkook face such dangers in silence? Why must his bandmate carry the visible weight of fear when no one else will explain? The timing only deepens the mystery. To send Jungkook into America, a nation at the center of turmoil, seems deliberate, almost as if his presence is meant for something far bigger than music. But if this were only about recording sessions or collaborations, why cloak it in such secrecy? Why surround it with what looks more like a state-level operation than a simple artist's tour? Analysts have suggested another angle. With Jungkook's skyrocketing global profile, his value as an icon extends far beyond entertainment. His presence impacts markets, industries, entire cultural conversations. A single incident affecting him would ripple across the globe. Could his security team have received intelligence so sensitive, so severe, that the only option was to lock him behind walls of protection? And then there is Taehyung. His panic is now the human symbol of this storm. Fans know his protective nature toward Jungkook runs deep. They've seen him step in countless times, shielding, comforting, steadying. To see him so visibly shaken now sends a shiver through the fandom. If Taehyung cannot hide his fear, how bad must the situation truly be? The unfolding events tell a story drenched in uncertainty. A sudden departure, unprecedented security, the looming dangers of America's unrest, and the raw panic of a fellow member unable to conceal his emotions. Each piece fits together not into clarity, but into a puzzle of dread. Why now? Why in this way? Why under such conditions? No one can say for sure. And that uncertainty is what makes the world watch even more closely. Every update, every whisper, every new sighting is magnified into something larger than life. Jungkook's trip to America has become more than an artist's journey. It is a global flashpoint, a story that holds millions captive, waiting, wondering, fearing. And yet, beneath all the emotion and speculation lies an uncomfortable truth. Much of what we think we know, Taehyung's panic, the extraordinary danger, the links to America's violent climate, remains unverified. The narrative that has captured headlines may be fueled more by images, impressions, and fears than by facts. Security details vary for reasons the public never sees: contracts, logistics, personal preference. Taehyung's expressions, caught in fleeting moments, could easily have been misinterpreted. And Jungkook's secrecy may be less about danger and more about business realities in a competitive industry. But the emotional weight of this story is undeniable. Even without answers, the questions linger. The images of security, the silence of official statements, the haunting look in Taehyung's eyes. Together, they create a drama that pulls the world in, leaving everyone waiting for what comes next. For now, one fact remains clear: Jungkook's journey is far from ordinary. And until the truth emerges, the world will keep watching, hearts suspended between fear and hope, unwilling to look away.